Well, good evening, everybody. It's great to have you with us on this fine Friday. Brendan Glasheen, your host tonight in this three-person booth. Steve Buchanan is here, our DraftKings contributor, also DK contributor, Matt LaMarca. We're talking baseball, and we will talk some football when the show wraps to get you ready for week 2 in the NFL. Gentlemen, hi. Hi, Steve.
Hi.
Hi. Matt LaMarca, good to see you. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Brendan. Always lovely to spend some time with you. Think you're just an absolute bright light in this industry. I love your TikTok and excited to talk some sports.
Excellent. Much appreciated. Enough of that, though, right? Because we do have a big slate to get to. All 30 teams are in action tonight. We've got 3 really tight races. The NL West is a one-game situation right now with the Dodgers and the Giants. You've got the wild cards and on both sides. Both leagues are very tight. Steve, we'll go to you first. What stands out to you on this loaded slate? What comes to mind first?
I think one of the best pitching options on this slate is very underpriced, and he's not one of the top 4 guys that you need to go for. Dylan Cease going up against the Rangers, I think, is going to be vastly overlooked. I mean, look, this is somebody that got shelled by the Red Sox his last time out, 2 2/3 innings, 7 runs on 4 hits. It was an absolute abomination. But he's got one of the softest matchups on the slate. He's got immense strikeout upside. This is a starter that has a K9 of over 12, which is, quite high. Really one of the best ones on the slate. And he's 9,100 tonight. You look at all these guys here at the top: Zach Wheeler, Walker Buehler, Logan Webb, Chris Sale. Fine. Absolutely fine. That guy is going to carry little to no ownership tonight, is in probably one of the better matchups. And I think he's one of the best plays at starting pitcher. So I look at that. I see an inflated group of pitchers at the top, and nobody's going to pay attention to Dylan Cease.
Okay. LaMarca, you going pitching or offense? What stands out on the slate tonight?
Well, first I have to disagree with Steve's assessment there. I think Dylan Cease is a great play.
Thank you.
I think everyone knows Dylan Cease is a great play. I don't think Dylan Cease is flying under anybody's radar. I think he'll be right up there with Zach Wheeler in terms of ownership. I'm popping over. Can I pop over to the sportsbook side for my take? You guys know me. I am a fan of the New York Metropolitans.
No, boy.
How in the world are the Mets? How is Zach Wheeler a minus 130 favorite against this team? This number should be minus 175. The Mets stink. Zach Wheeler is really good. Like, why? I don't get it. I don't understand why this line is so bad. Taijuan Walker has been absolutely torched over the second half of the season. I know he had a little moment against the Yankees where Johnny VR alerted him he was tipping pitches, and then he looked dominant again all of a sudden. I don't buy that at all. The Mets stink. The whole NL stinks, if we're being honest, outside of like the top 4 teams. Nobody wants to win this second wild card spot. The Cardinals are now in a wild card position. They have a negative run differential this season. Like it's really just like a war of attrition. Nobody wants to win these games.
Just going off of what Max said, quiet for a second. Just going off of what Matt just said about the difference in Walker from the first half to the second half. His FIP from the first half to the second half is about 4 runs higher. 4 runs higher than the first half. In the first half, 3.06 FIP. Second half, 7.11. And I'm not talking about the convenience store. I'm talking about the guy's FIP. It's been that bad. And Matt LaMarca pointed out perfectly, which he always does on these shows on Friday.
Thank you.
That line is a joke. How is he only 130 from the Phillies, who just came off a historic win yesterday against the Cubs, being down 7-0 in the third, and then going on to beat them 17-8? If there was ever a time for a team to be ignited, reinvigorated, it was yesterday. Now they face this guy who, can't get anybody out. Minus 130? Joke. Absolute joke.
So you put the splits out earlier today. Steve Buchanan, S Buchanan 24 on Twitter, does a great job getting the sportsbook info out to everybody. See, LaMarca, I'll do right by Steve, and acknowledge when he does a good job. He doesn't do that for me, but that's okay. It motivates me, makes me better. Steve Buchanan put this out there today. It's not like Steve didn't come up with this number. He's just feeding the data. Not to give Steve all the credit, but 97% of the bets are on the over tonight of 7.5. Is there confidence in this Phillies lineup to make up for this and give Wheeler all that run support? Is that convincing enough? 7.5?
I just don't know why you wouldn't take the Phillies. Like, I think we're getting too cute if we're taking the over or the under. Like, the Phillies might score 8 runs in this game, but they also might score 3. And you know what? I think they win either way.
Right.
Let me ask you this then. Your New York Metropolitans, 64% of the handle, 53% of the bets are on the Phillies. That's too low then.
Way too low.
I think it's too low.
Like, what are the other 36% of the people doing? Like, what don't they like?
Are always going to get that public boost, right? You know, there are people that want to bet on their team. But I don't get it. Maybe it's a trap. You know, there are lines all the time where it's like, how is this happening? And then you look back at the end of the night and it's like, oh, that's why, because it was a trap. So maybe it's a trap. Maybe I'm just being a fool, but on the surface, this line is ridiculous.
My favorite NFL bet that we're going to talk about later is probably a trap line, but I'm falling for it.
Ooh, good tease, Steve. Good tease.
I learned that in the industry.
The man's a pro.
In the industry. That's right.
Sure is.
No.
Hey, so the Angels haven't announced a pitcher yet. We can get to Chris Sale in just a second. He is expected to return after his COVID-19 layoff. Sale and the Red Sox hosting the Orioles for their final homestand of the season. Any idea how we should attack A's, Angels? Do you guys know anything as far as who's going to be pitching for the Angels? Does it even matter to you?
What the hell do I care? There's 29 other teams that announce a starter. I'm going to sit here and get hung up on who the Angels are going to throw out. It's probably some bum that we've never heard of, so I don't even care. That's how you attack that game. If you want to attack that game, you can stack up guys against Cole Irvin, who's been an absolute gas can for about 2 months now. That's how you attack that game. You're not sitting around on your hands Friday night, September 17th, waiting to find out who the Angels pitcher is going to be. That's how you attack that game. There's 29 other guys you can choose from, Glass. I'm not worried about who the Angels are throwing out.
All right, Big Mouth. How about the dude who's making his big league debut tonight, Heasley, the Royals, taking on your Mariners, who are going to be out of this playoff race, Steve, if they don't get their act together tonight. They're 4 back in the wild card. Can your Mariners figure it out or what?
Look, Glass, let me tell you something about the Mariners.
What? Tell me.
It takes a big man like myself to make a call like that in the month of April when nobody else is on that team. Here we are, September 17th. We're still talking about the Mariners making the playoffs. Even if they don't make the playoffs, my call was right on because they're right in there. So maybe they won't win the AL West, okay? That was a big, long shot to begin with. That's why when I made the call, the odds were 27-1, Glash. That's a big odds that you can take on. Robbie Ray to win the AL Cy Young, called it at 80-1. Now he's, just about even money to win the AL Cy Young. It takes it takes a big man to make those kind of calls and decisions. So even if they don't make it, I pride myself in being on the right side of it when nobody else is there. You don't want to be late to the party, Glass. You want to be the first one there. I was there with my party hat and party favors going.
Do you like the Mariners tonight? That's my answer.
Do I like the Mariners
tonight? Do you like the Mariners tonight?
Of course I do.
Okay.
Why wouldn't you? The Royals are going nowhere. They're just trying out guys at this point. Like, I could be walking past Coffin Stadium and they go, hey, what are you doing tonight? Nothing. Want to pitch? Sure. Yeah, I'm down. That's what it feels like right now at the Royals. That's the Royals right now.
I don't think it's that bad.
Did you do that in Philly when you went by Citizens Bank? Hey, I'll pitch tonight. Did you try that?
The Phillies are actually in contention. They actually want people to pitch.
This is true.
I don't think it's that bad for Heasley here, John Heasley. He's certainly a better pitching prospect than Steve Buchanan at this point, but he's not a guy that we're like excited to see his major league debut. There was some talk that Shane Baz would make his debut for the Rays tonight. That would be a pitching prospect that we would be excited to see. Didn't end up happening, but That's kind of like the prospect that we are excited about. Heasley is the number 29 prospect in the Royals organization. He's, a fringe major league pitcher. So I don't think there's any reason for Steve's Mariners to be super worried, especially with KBO sensation Chris Flexen on the mound. The guy, I don't understand how he's doing it. He's averaging like 6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's just been effective this year. He's got a sub 4 ERA, taking on a Royals offense that's not that good. So, I kind of like the Mariners in this spot.
Okay. They kind of need the game. So
yes, they do.
Look, I'll give you credit. I gave you credit for Robbie Ray. I mean, just throwing it out there. They're 4 out of the second wild card. They need to get moving. They're running out of time. So
that is correct. That's how time works.
How do we feel about Chris Sale? So 8 days since he went on the COVID-19 list. He is on the mound for Boston, on track to be cleared. That was what we heard this morning from Alex Spear of the Boston Globe. MLB and the Players Association had a meeting today. It looks like he's going to be on the mound. That's happening. Chris Sale on the mound for the Red Sox against the dreadful Baltimore Orioles. You touching this game, DFS, Sportsbook. How do we feel about Sale in Boston?
Here's what I worry about with Sale in Boston at 9,500. This is the cheapest we've seen him all season long since he's come back. You said it yourself. The Orioles are dreadful. And while I would tend to agree with you, they're not dreadful against lefties. And that's what concerns me. We have Sale coming back from being on the COVID list. He hasn't pitched in almost in over 10 days now. Obviously, he's had some bullpen sessions, but he hasn't pitched in over 10 days now. How far are they going to let him go? How much is he going to be able to accomplish against what's, quite frankly, a good hitting team against lefties? Am I saying that the Orioles are going to go out there and get 7-8 runs off of Chris Sale? Absolutely not. But am I saying from what's likely going to be a popular Chris Sale, do I want to take him at 9,500 against a team that does hit lefties well? Not exactly. The Red Sox are the biggest favorites on the slate. I think it's minus 365. Not thrilled about that either because of all the reasons I just laid out here. So I think it's a situation where you can get probably better ownership on some other guys because if people are going to be flocking to Chris Sale, especially in tournaments, I'm probably looking the other direction because he's got a couple red flags in this start against the Orioles.
Yeah, LaMarca, they're at Steve, they're at minus 350 now on the sports book. So LaMarca, thoughts on Sale?
That's it. Can't use Chris Sale anymore. I'm with Steve. I question the upside. Like if he goes only 5 or 6 innings, does that give him the potential to reach, double-digit strikeouts? I don't know if it does. Certainly Chris Sale is a great pitcher and the Red Sox need him, right? Like they don't have the luxury of being able to ease him back into the rotation. They need to win baseball games and as many of them as possible. But I do think that should Boston jump out to, a sizable lead, that maybe gives them a little bit of a flexibility with him. I think that this game for me is just a stay away. If I was going to use Chris Sale, I'd use him in a cash game where he can go 5 innings, get me the win, and that's good enough to return value. I just don't see him having the 35-point DraftKings ceiling tonight in limited innings.
So we have been Zach Wheeler happy on this program so far, but there is a question from Twitch. CEH is asking, do you like Zach Wheeler's prop, 6.5 strikeouts? Any interest in the over or under?
Yeah,
Yes.
I have no problem with the over in that one. You see, I brought it up on the screen here. He's faced the Mets 4 times already, 29 1/3 innings, 31 strikeouts in those games. So he's averaging over a strikeout per inning in that one. The Mets are kind of like an offense that came out of the microwave. It was piping hot when it first came out, but it's cooled off considerably since they've come out. So that's exactly where the Mets have been in the month of September. They strike out a lot to begin with. And with the dominance that Wheeler has exhibited over this team numerous times this season, I have no problem taking over 6.5. I think that's actually a strikeout too low. I'd probably be taking the under. If it was at 7.5, I would take the over at 6.5.
The Mets stink. I have no problem with you.
Okay, that's what we're
Maybe a
here
little
for.
same game parlay.
Whoa!
Oh,
I like those.
keep going.
No, I'm just saying you throw that in with the Phillies money line. Now
Right.
we're talking a little plus money payout. Don't hate it.
Okay. Good. That's good. Yeah. Same game parlays available on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Very good. What else we got? What else we got on this slate tonight? Do we want to talk some DFS? I know we've talked pitching quite a bit. What about a hitter? Bregman, Alex Bregman, Steve, is a favorite of yours this evening.
Alex Bregman is criminally underpriced tonight. Like I actually thought it was I was reading it incorrectly. I expected him to be 5K plus. 4,400 tonight going against Madison Bumgarner. Emphasis on the bum part. A lefty. All he does is smash lefties. This guy is averaging 12.2 DraftKings fantasy points over his last 10 games. 3 home runs in that span, 16 RBIs. Those 16 RBIs make up 31% of the RBIs he has on the season. That's what he's done over the past 10 games. Now he's facing Madison Bumgarner, who's allowed at least 5 runs in 3 straight starts. By the way, one of those was against the Mariners. Shout out to that team. But the Astros in Houston should absolutely annihilate Madison Bumgarner tonight, who, per the usual, looks completely lost when he's on the mound. But one of the better hitters in the league against lefties, Alex Bregman, at 4,400 against a home run loving giver-upper in Madison Bumgarner. I'll take that all day. That's going to be one of the best plays on this slate, period.
Yeah, I would argue that the entirety of the Houston lineup is underpriced.
Yeah.
Jose Altuve 5K, maybe not like a screaming bargain there, but I would plant my flag on Kyle Tucker at 4,700. Yes, it's a lefty-lefty matchup. Here's what Kyle Tucker has done since the All-Star break against left-handed pitchers. He's got a 442 on base percentage, a 771 slugging percentage, 375 ISO. Add it all up, 229 WRC plus. This guy has been maybe the best player in baseball over the second half of the season. Like and he's not getting a ton of love because the Astros are just like not playing for anything right now. They're way out in front of their division. Sorry, Steve, Mariners are done. But yeah, they should beat up on Bumgarner. And I think that the whole team is underpriced. Bregman, Gurriel, Correa. Like, I do worry a little bit about the ownership. I think that there'll be a popular stack tonight, but Tucker might fly under the radar as a one-off just because of the lefty-lefty thing, even though Tucker has had no problems against left-handers this season.
I think it was Garion. Hold on one second. I just got to throw this out there. I think it was Garion that mentioned that since the beginning of May, Tucker and Harper have the same exact WRC plus over that span. Like, that's absolutely incredible for somebody that like you wouldn't even know or even think of or would come to mind. Tucker's been that good, and nobody has really caught on to that fact.
Total is at 9.5, and folks are hammering the over. The public is, at least. So that's a reflection of maybe you should get involved. Right now, it's 97% of the bets on over 9 runs, and it's at 9.5 now. So,
yep.
Do people have the right read on that as opposed to Philadelphia and New York?
I would be more comfortable with taking the over on the Astros team total. Anytime that a game involves the Arizona Diamondbacks, I cannot trust them to do their part to hit the over. Astros at 5.5 runs, -110 for the over, -120 for the under. A little surprised about that one with how bad Madison Bumgarner is, but I would absolutely take the over on that one. Like I mentioned, it's not a question of if the Astros can score. It's a question of if the Diamondbacks can score. And with the team total of 3.5, can't trust that team to do it.
You're watching the slate here on the DraftKings YouTube, Twitch, and also Twitter platforms. Brendan Glasheen, Steve Buchanan, Matt LaMarca. We're talking baseball. Any other important thoughts? LaMarca, something you want to get off your chest for this slate tonight before we transition to the NFL?
Wow.
I think stack wise.
Yep.
Just play the Blue Jays. Play the Blue Jays every night. Just play the Blue Jays, and it's
until further notice.
They never are the chalk stack, right? Like tonight, I think the Astros carry more ownership. The Red Sox lead the slate, 6.3 implied runs. They should carry more ownership. But the top of that Blue Jays lineup just rakes, and they do it on a basically nightly basis.
Okay, Steve, anything else? Any fades?
Just to add to the Blue Jays, in the month of September, they have a 4.12 team WOBA. 4.12. That is just absurd for the 17th day of the month that they're still maintaining that type of output, leading the league in runs scored, leading leagues in home runs scored, WOBA, isolated power, you name it. They're at the top of the league in the month of September. I don't care who they're playing at this point. Betting on the Blue Jays, stacking the Blue Jays remains profitable until further notice.
So that over-under is at 9.5, which is the largest on the slate tonight across the board. There's 3 totals at 9.5. Blue Jays have Hyun-Jin Ryu on the mound. Michael Pineda, he's on the mound for the Twins. I didn't know he was still in the league, Michael Pineda.
Doing fairly well, too, so it just shows that you're ignorant.
Okay, well, I mean, come on. You think they're going to do well against Pineda tonight?
Yeah, but I'm not saying that Pineda's been a bad guy. Like, Madison Bumgarner's been doing awful all year. Michael Pineda's been pretty decent, but now he's running into the train known as the Blue Jays.
Okay. We pray for Michael Pineda on this Friday night. So, okay, let's move on to the NFL because there is a big weekend ahead. Week 2, of course, everyone just overreacts to week 1, and we all lose our minds about what happened. But Steve, we'll start with you. Anything you're looking forward to in particular? A particular player, a particular game, storyline? What comes to mind for you for the NFL? First thing you think of.
If you want to talk about an overreaction, maybe I'm overreacting to the Eagles beating the Falcons easily. But for them to be underdogs, +3 underdogs to the 49ers, I think is just flat out wrong. That team, the Eagles, are a lot better than people are giving them credit for. That offensive line is healthy. That is not something Carson Wentz had the benefit of doing or playing behind when he was in Philly. He's getting that now with the Colts, but he didn't get that with Philly. Jalen Hurts is getting that now. The 49ers have a brash of injuries already. Like the running back carousel of characters is already here, and it's only week 2. That's something that they dealt with for years. They're going to have to do that again this year. I feel like the Eagles at +3 and +135 on the money line, that is by far my favorite underdog play of the week. I have the Eagles in a lot of teasers. I like the Eagles all around. I don't know if they have the means to stop Jalen Hurts, who also, by the way, has some legitimate weapons. And when the 49ers are hurt in the backfield, and now you have to rely upon Jimmy Garoppolo to throw, let me tell you, I've seen plenty of Jimmy Garoppolo throwing. That is not a game plan you want to rely upon all season long to win games. He is not an accurate or great passer. So I will absolutely take the Eagles +135. I'll take him a +3. You're very confused. What are you confused about?
Me? I'm not confused. I'm not going
to get that look off your face.
What I would argue was a couple years ago, a third-string running back by the name of Raheem Mostert just slid in and ran for 204 touchdowns, and everything was fine for San Francisco. They went to the freaking Super Bowl. So they'll figure it out. Shanahan will scheme it up. Come on. Who cares about the running back, Steve?
Where did this guy come from? Who
What are you talking about? You think all of a sudden, because one guy gets hurt, they're just going to, they can't throw anymore. They win games with Jimmy Garoppolo.
LaMarca, can an analyst give a take here?
Oh, now he can't talk. Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead. Save him.
Philadelphia, absolutely one of the biggest sharp sides of the week right now. They're getting just 34% of the spread tickets, 75% of the spread dollars.
Wow.
The sharps are super interested in the Eagles right now. And I think that a lot of it stems from the defense, right? Like everybody kind of had a feeling that the Eagles were going to be able to put up points, maybe not the 34 or whatever they scored last week versus the Falcons, but they limited that Falcons offense to 6 points. Meanwhile, San Francisco, yes, they took their foot off the gas, but they had a little bit of a meltdown last week against the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Lions. So
it's crossover season, baby. Don't worry about it.
Sports Elation.
It's crossover season.
Soon I'll be calling them the Pistons. Don't worry. So yeah, the Eagles definitely. I've heard that they're a team that the sports books will have their eye on pretty heavily this week. They want to see if this defense is for real. So I think Steve is pretty spot on with that call, Glash.
Okay, whatever. I don't entirely agree. I don't really look, and I understand. The underdogs, home underdogs were 12. No, pardon me, just underdogs. Underdogs were 12-4 against the spread in week 1. That trend carried over into Thursday night in week 2. LaMarca, is that something you think? Is that just unprecedented to see that kind of ratio? 12 to, what do you think?
No, early in the season
carry over again
is typically a good time to look at underdogs because it's the time we have the least amount of information available to us, right? We're going a lot off of what we think we know, and what we think we know is often a lot less than what we actually know. So underdogs tend to do well early in the season. As we get more information, the lines become a little bit sharper, and that tends to balance out. There are definitely a few interesting games though to watch this week. You know, like you want to talk about overreactions. I think 2 AFC South teams potentially fit that bill. The Colts, home underdogs against the Rams, and the Titans now nearly a full touchdown underdog against Seattle. These are 2 teams that were expected to win double-digit games at the start of the season. Neither team played well in week 1. So it will be interesting to see if either team bounces back. There does appear to be a little bit of sharp interest on both teams, particularly the Colts. I think more people are interested in the Colts right now than the Titans. And then the Jets, I have to bring up the Jets, right?
Me too.
This line right here, to me, is absolutely like it's crazy. They're saying that the Patriots are 9 points better than the Jets on a neutral field. And that feels like an insanely high number. But at the same time, the Jets offensive line is just a major problem right now. They allowed a 50% or greater than 50% pressure rate for Zach Wilson last week against the Panthers front 7 that's not particularly imposing. And now they've lost Mekhi Becton. So everyone's piling on the Patriots. This number just continues to go up. I don't know if we've reached a point where it's too high, but it does kind of just hurt my brain. Like, I don't think the Patriots are 9 points better than the Jets on a neutral field.
So
Jonathan
this
Smith,
game
questionable, and Trent Brown is still day to day for the Patriots.
Big injury, Trent Brown.
Yeah, great. Who cares? This is my favorite play. This is my favorite play for Sunday. I gave 6? That. I got it at 5.5. It's at 6. I would dare to say that I would take the Patriots up to 7.5 at this point. That's when I would have to really start thinking about the Jets if it reached 7.5. I would almost guarantee you that come Sunday kickoff, this game is up to 7. There's no way that when this was at 5.5, I said, I'm either losing my mind or this is like the play that you have to make. On what planet are the Patriots only minus 5.5 against the Jets? Like Matt just said, an offensive line that just allowed a 51% pressure rate to Zach Wilson, who couldn't even get the ball out of his hands, even when it was clean.
Played great in the second half, by the way.
He played great, the halfway through the third onto the fourth. So now you have Bill Belichick, who has a week to prepare for this game against a rookie quarterback, who, by the way, he's 21-4 against in his career.
Yep.
There's so much to like about the Patriots. Who or what is going to beat the Patriots? I get it. They made a couple of bonehead plays in week 1, and that's why they ended up losing. But you're facing the biggest bonehead team in the AFC.
I'm confused. So do you like the Patriots minus 5.5?
I like the Patriots minus 5.5. I like the Patriots minus 6. I like the Patriots minus 6.5. I like the Patriots minus 7.
Once I'll tell you right now, this line is not getting to 7.
I think it gets to 7.
LaMarca, you have to acknowledge, you can't ignore that Belichick stat against rookie quarterbacks and rookie head coaches. Granted, this one is on the road, but that is a real thing.
all those Belichick numbers come with a caveat of he had the greatest NFL
Tom
quarterback
Brady.
of all time playing on his team.
Right.
He didn't look,
Right.
like he just lost to Tua Tagovailoa, who's essentially a rookie quarterback. He's playing in his 12th career game or whatever. Like, I think that the aura of the Patriots is dead. I know that hurts.
What happened to Justin
Patriots
Herbert last
fans.
year?
This
happened to
hurts
Justin
all you
Herbert?
Patriots fans' feelings, but the team had
What
two costly fumbles last week.
Yep.
This is not, like Bill Belichick is great when he has the greatest player of all time on the sidelines with him.
What happened to Justin Herbert last year?
What is this Justin Herbert? What are you trying to say?
They won
You're thinking-
45-0 last year in LA. Rookie quarterback on the road. I mean, there's an example
All right.
for you, Justin Herbert. Now everyone loves Justin Herbert. He can do no wrong, Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
I'm
Justin
just
Herbert
saying,
can't do
I'm not
anything
saying, I'm not
Without
saying I
Brady.
have a take on this game. The line to me makes no sense,
Okay.
but everybody loves the Patriots. Steve is right. The money is flowing on New England. This line will probably get to 6.5. I don't think it gets to 7 because I think at that point the Sharps just have to hold their nose and take the Jets +7. A 7-point home dog against a quarterback making his second career start is pretty absurd.
Two quarterbacks,
especially if they're missing their best offensive lineman. But
Can I get both of your thoughts on Kansas City and Baltimore? Are we making too much of it's a short week for Baltimore? Ravens injuries continue to pile up. It's at 3.5. I think the last we looked, yes, 3.5 going to the Ravens. You can get the Ravens at +170. Are you touching Baltimore, or is this a good spot for Kansas City?
I'm going to jump
first
in
of all, hold
here.
on real quick. Hold on 1 second, Matt. Did you finish your thoughts on the Patriots game? Because he just totally interrupted you and went to another question.
I basically had said all that I needed to say.
Okay, all right. So go ahead.
He said
go
he
ahead.
didn't
Make
have
your
anything
point
else
about
to
this
add.
Go ahead, Matt.
We've seen this game, guys, the last 2 years. And every time, or the past 2 times, I've talked myself into the narrative that the Ravens are just going to control the clock. They're going to run the ball down Kansas City's throat, keep it out of Patrick Mahomes' hand. Very similar to what we saw kind of with Cleveland last week. They controlled the game with their running game. And you know what? It didn't matter. But that's the line of thinking, right? Oh, the Patriots or the Ravens, they'll just keep it away from them. And it doesn't work. It has not worked the last 2 years. And I don't think it will work on Sunday. I hate being on such a public side. Everybody is on the Chiefs in this matchup, but I think anytime you can get Patrick Mahomes laying a small number, you kind of just have to take it at this point. Yes, it didn't work in the Super Bowl, but this is a completely rebuilt offensive line. Give me the Chiefs as square as it is.
Here's what I hate. Here's what I hate about what LaMarca just said is that with those numbers, you just have to take Mahomes. Since last year, anybody who had that mentality lost their shirt last year. The Chiefs are a horrible team at covering the spread. Since last year, they are 8-12 against the spread. That's covering at a 40% clip. That is one of the worst in the league. The only 4 teams that were worse since last year at covering were the Titans, the Vikings, the Jets, and the Cowboys. The Chiefs, for whatever reason, will win, but they don't cover. They never seem to cover.
It's going to be hard to win and not cover this spread.
That, and I don't disregard that. That was going to be my next point, is that this spread is so small, though, that that's going to be a tough narrative to go by. But still, I don't fault the Ravens for losing that game. That game could have gone either way. And we'd be talking about something completely different here than if the Ravens were able to hold on and win that game. I'll take the points with the Ravens. It's a small spread, but I just like what Lamar Jackson can do. He looked good when he was passing the ball. And if they're going to be able to do that more, that's what's important. And one of the best matchups of this game for the Ravens individually is going to be Mark Andrews going up against the Chiefs. They do not cover tight ends well. And if your tight end is essentially your top guy, good things are going to happen for the Ravens. So I'll take +3.5 for the Ravens.
I think Andrews is in
really
for
quick,
a good...
really quick. Since Steve threw out the number about the Chiefs being a terrible against the spread team last year, which is fair, completely fair. He's spot on. Mahomes favored by a touchdown or less last season, 3-1 during the regular season. I'm not saying you have to blindly back the Chiefs every single week, but again, as a small favorite, I think that you should be looking. That's a spot we should be taking advantage of.
Steve makes a great point. Andrews is in for a good bounce back spot. I would agree with that. Jackson did look good throwing the football. But just stay away from Sammy Watkins. We've learned our lesson. He didn't boom in week 1, but that guy just disappears. Yeah, he disappears.
He did pretty well in week 1. He did okay in week 1.
He did. So
now he's disappearing until week 18.
Yeah, probably. No kidding. And, the Ravens, knowing the Ravens lock, they'll be in a situation where they have to win a game to get in the postseason at the end of the year, because I think it's going to be very tight between them and the.
Did this dope just freeze?
I think he froze.
This is 2021.
He was going to give us his favorite
LaMarca,
play.
You brought up Tennessee and Seattle.
Oh,
Tennessee worked through this out the other day. Sorry, internet's spotty. So I love the Seahawks, or rather I love the Titans at +6.5, and I like the over in this game. Tannehill's numbers as the starting quarterback in Tennessee, it's absurd. They're 22-4-1 to the over when Tannehill starts. Seattle puts up a ton of points. I don't think they're as good as advertised defensively from week 1. Tennessee's not as bad offensively like we saw against Arizona. Last year, the Seahawks, they covered the spread only once when favored by 6.5 or more last year in 5 games. So it's not a huge sample, but I like the spot here. Rashad Penny's hurt, so I wonder if Seattle does let Russ throw it a little bit more. I know the touchdown passes make it seem like he was chucking it everywhere, but he only had 23 pass attempts in that week 1 game. A same game parlay on DraftKings, you can get it at +290 for the over, and then Tennessee getting 6.5. That line started at 3.5, which I find crazy that it's got all the way up to 6.5 points, and that number's still there.
Here's what I would say. If you win that bet, get some better internet, okay? Use your winnings, get some better internet so you're not freezing during a live show. That would be great for all of us. So good luck to you. Get a better internet provider once you win.
And real quick, the other game, as LaMarca brought up, Rams-Colts. I don't know about you guys. Is it an overreaction? I thought the Rams were fantastic. I thought the Rams were fantastic Sunday night. That was not an anomaly. They had 2 50-yard touchdowns. They couldn't do that at all last year with Jared Goff. That, to me, that's going to be a consistent thing all year, the way they looked. I'm convinced.
No, for 1.5 touchdowns.
I like
that's
the Colts.
your bet to take. Yep.
You like the Colts?
I do. Since you guys got to give your favorite picks,
yes,
I'm taking the Chargers. Chargers -3.5. Also really like the over in this game. Chargers offensive line was amazing last week. Their rookie offensive tackle that they drafted looks like a stud, and no DeMarcus Lawrence for the Cowboys. I think that's a huge loss. I'm expecting a lot of points, but the Chargers to ultimately secure the victory.
Okay, that's it. Great stuff, guys. Enjoyed it. Good time, I think.
I had fun.
Yeah, I mean, when you weren't frozen, it was okay.
Well, I would think you'd think that'd be the other way around. Like, oh, Glasheen can shut up, So
no, it's just embarrassing.
We all can't be on MLB Network, we don't get that kind of feed.
Wrap it up.
Okay. Thanks to Eamon and Bry Guy behind the scenes, our production team today. Matt LaMarca, Steve Buchanan, Brendan Glasheen. Great to have you with us today. Best of luck with your plays in Major League Baseball tonight, and good luck with the NFL on Sunday. And go read Julian Edlow for all the college football stuff for tonight and tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching The Slate. We'll see you on Monday.
Okay.